Hey guys, so I wanted to make an updated video on this Honda outboard trim gauge that I've been working on. We've had this boat for about, this will be our third summer, and ever since we've had it, the trim gauge has not worked. And all the other gauges did work. They were getting a little bit hazy, a little bit hard to see, and be able to see the different readings on the gauges because of the age of the boat and whatnot. So we replaced all the gauges, and the only one that still would not work was the trim gauge. And to give you a little background, I took this boat to one of my boat mechanics, spoke with other mechanics about it, and they were all in the same perspective or view that I was about it, and couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. So like I say, put in a brand new Fiera gauge on this thing and wouldn't read. And so finally I started Googling about this, trying to find some more information, and stumbled upon a thread online about this that said that Honda is the only outboard manufacturer between Mercury, Evinrude, Yamaha, and Suzuki that so those four manufacturers use a variable resistance to ground signal to give the signal to indicate the trim position of your motor. Whereas Honda uses a variable resistance, variable voltage signal from the sending unit in the motor to make the trim gauge work. So what that means is, if you order just a everyday general purpose trim gauge off Amazon or from whoever, if it is not meant for a Honda motor, it will not work and it will not read, no matter what you do, because of that difference in what Honda uses to make the signal, to give you the signal to the gauge. So you have to get either a Honda brand, Honda outboard brand trim gauge, or you can get one from Fiera, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Y'all forgive me if I'm not, but you can get one from them. I talked to customer support at Fiera, and they only make a select few gauges for Honda that will work, of Fiera gauges that will work on a Honda motor. So anyway, like I said, I placed the sending unit on this boat. I've got another video if you want to see it of the location of the sending unit on these Honda outboards. Where it's at, it's not as hard to get to, but it is hidden very well. You can pull that video up. But this one, before you go through the trouble replacing the sending unit, if you bought a new gauge because the old one was hard to read and the new gauge isn't working, it's probably because that gauge is not meant for a Honda outboard. You've got to get a Honda outboard gauge that's made for Honda, because Honda uses that variable voltage and not the variable resistance signal that Yamaha, Suzuki, Evinrude, Mercury, all these other manufacturers use. It's not that it's a bad thing, but it's not for us general DIYers, there's not, a lot of information out there without digging in real deep online and finding that information. And then the gentleman that posted that thread, if you see this video, thank you for doing that, because I was at my wit's end about this. But anyway, wanted to show you this. So, and before, what I done is I took my voltage gauge here and was checking things out, and the wires that you got on this gauge, your ground, your S wire, and your power wire, which says the I wire, I as in Indian, on the back of here. It is down there on the bottom of the gauge. But I checked those wires with my voltage meter before I started hooking all this up, just to see if it was reading right. So I was getting the traditional 12 volts from the power wire. I put the voltage meter on the signal wire, and when this motor was setting perfectly level, it was giving me a reading of 2 volts on here, and then I could move the trim up and down, and that would fluctuate, indicating, you know, that the motor was in a different position. But this new gauge, this is a Honda trim gauge. As soon as I turned the power on, it came right up and started reading like it's supposed to, and is working as it should now. But I just wanted to say, you know, look, if you're having issues with your Honda outboard trim gauge not working, if you've bought another aftermarket gauge and it was not a Honda gauge or a gauge that was meant for a Honda outboard, it's not going to work. So that being said, this is the Mercury. This is one I ordered off of Amazon, a Fiera gauge, and the part number on it, once I contacted customer support and told them the part number, they said, yeah, that one was meant for a Mercury motor, and, you know, would not work on that. So hope this saves someone the headache that I went through in getting this thing back and going. But everything, all the gauges are working like they're supposed to now. And just on a side note, another gauge I would recommend, if you hadn't upgraded to it already, is the Fiera. It is a GPS powered or functioning speedometer gauge. That takes so much work out of all of it. You know, traditionally with boats, you know, the mile per hour gauge would work off water pressure and make the gauge read what it was supposed to read, and it would not be entirely accurate. Whereas this, with the GPS, it's always extremely accurate. It initially reads 5 miles an hour until it acquires a satellite signal. Once it gets a satellite signal, it goes to 0, and then whenever you move, it moves and gives you a more accurate reading. So I wanted to recommend throw that in there as well. But once again, like I say, I hope this helps somebody out, and have a good day.